Hi everyone, this is Shelly with Life Creates Art and part 2 of doing our commissioned portrait here with Andrew and Madison and Jill and little Rosie and little Mia. And today I'm going to be showing you how to start the faces, how to start building the layers of paint to make these people really come alive and just jump off of the canvas. So I look forward to seeing you. Welcome back. Thank you so much to all of our new subscribers. Again, this is part 2. And anything that I'm doing today, the paints, paint brushes, canvas, all of those things, if you need your basic supplies, be sure to go down into the link and go to kit.com//Life Creates Art, and you can order all of these products there. It'll run you through Amazon and you'll be good to go. And like and subscribe, hit the little bell so you can be notified of when we release the next one. All right, so now this commissioned portrait here, Jill, my friend Jill, has commissioned this of her family. And last week, what we did was we outlined the faces to basically get a structure of the faces so that when I look at them, I can see the lines, because my portraits are not super realistic. They are caricatures, sort of abstract little caricatures of the people. And then I take their lives, which you can see up here. I'm not going to do a close-up of this, but I take their lives and all their interests and favorite colors and all of those things, and I incorporate them to tell a story in the painting. Now, today we're going to be working on building the paint, building the structure for the face, and excuse me, all the layers that you have to do to incorporate the face. I'm going to finish drawing a little Mia here. I'm going to finish drawing her, and then we will go ahead and start the basics. I'm going to do one for you, and then we're going to do a little fast forward and you can just watch the whole process. All right, I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, and we are back. So I know you can just see the corner of me, but that's okay. I'd rather you just see the painting. What I'm getting started on is, again, building the basics. Let me step back for a second. This is something that anybody can do. The reason that I do this channel and do art on this channel is because I want even the person who's just thinking about dabbling in art, I want you to advance your creativity. I want you to try it out. It's really easy when you practice and practice and practice. That's why I have you sketch every week and every day. But this is a really easy process. And if you do it over and over, then you can do it yourself. You learn the building blocks of the basics, and you can move forward from there with your own style. So what we're doing here is, on this one, I'm just going to do Jill. This is Jill. Now, this does not look like Jill. This does not look like the pictures that I have. Sometimes I'm able to catch people, again, like I said last week, when I draw them, sometimes I am not able to capture them. Sometimes they come out, I just have to get the basic sketch down, and they come out in the painting. I usually always capture the essence of the person, but it's a process. So we're going to start building. Now, today I'm using Liquitex Basics, the Naphthol Crimson and Raw Umber, and Raw Sienna. This is Raw Sienna, and a Raw Umber with Artist Loft. And of course I have black on my palette as well. And what we're going to start to do right now, I'm going to wet my brush a little bit, is we're just going to add some depth. Now, around the nose here, where the shadows might lie, Okay, so I've put a picture of Jill here for me to sort of look at some of the coloring on her face and all of that, and that's a good idea to keep close. We're just working on Jill today, and we're going to build up around the eye. Now, this is, of course, not going to be this brown. I'm not happy with that paintbrush. But this is what you do to build up the texture, you build up the coloring, the shadowing in your art. And people are not just two-dimensional. We are three-dimensional beings. And I wanted to let you know that I learned how to do this and build this process actually through working at the funeral home in Burbank. When the deceased would come in, they had already been taken care of by our care center. However, when they would get under our lights of our funeral home, then things sort of changed a little bit for them. Their coloring would change. And what I needed to do was I needed to touch them up and make sure that they were good for their families. And they looked perfect for the services. And that's what I did a lot, was I took care of the families at the services, did a lot of grief counseling through that time. So you learn when you're doing the makeup on the deceased have no color. The color's gone from their faces. And what you have to do is put it back. You have to put back that color. My boss that taught me how to do the makeup, he said, everyone has blood vessels and everyone bleeds. Everyone has blood flowing through them. And it comes out. So we can see a little bit of redness in our nose. We lift up and we've got a little different coloring in our foreheads. And that's because of the blood flowing through us. Now, when you are a deceased person, you do not have that anymore. So you have to make it look like they are still walking among us by adding that highlight and texture back in to their face. So part of it is adding some red, adding a little bit of the dark shading, and then that texture with the red that makes it look like there's the blood flowing under their skin. With a painting, you're basically doing the same thing. You're building the building blocks of a person who has no blood flow on their face. So you're doing the building blocks of that with paint. So we can see here with Jill that she's got some little cute little cheeks here. So I'm going to make sure that we add, see the little dark line right here? Oh, you can't. I'm so sorry. Okay, so you can see here that Jill has some dark, where she has her little rosy cheeks, and there's a line that sort of comes around of darkness, and I'm going to just build that with my paint. Again, I do about maybe five layers of paint on each face when I do this process. So we want to be sure just gathering all of those nice deep highlights. I have to figure out which side I want the light on. Okay, so we're going to come around there. This comes up. Now, this is what we do with the edges, the corners. I'm going to start adding some red. It is dark, but we want some color under their face. And this is all just a part of the building blocks of building the color on a human's face. Put some red in there, in her forehead. and the nose. What my boss taught me when I was working at the funeral home was that you always put a little bit of red on their little chin, on the little nose, and on the little forehead, and that will help you see more of that color coming through. Okay, so I am going to start, just for the sake of time, I'm going to start making some flesh here. Okay, so I'm going to start just for the sake, oh, I'm really close up. I'm going to start for the sake of time to build sort of the first layer of flesh on top of the face. I am making a flesh color. I am using a deep red, an unbleached titanium, and the cadmium yellow. I had to grab my Craftsmart pink because at the moment I can't locate my light pink with the basics. But all of these paints, the basics, you can find down below in the description below. So you combine, in order to make a flesh color, you combine these colors together, and then you just work at mixing them together. But you have to be very careful. There's certain colors that will dominate if you add too much. For example, if you add too much yellow, it'll take over the whole thing. So add it very, very gently, very carefully, and very slowly. Otherwise, your face will be completely yellow. Okay, I'm going to add a little more of the unbleached, add a little some white. And we're just balancing these colors for the flesh color. And we want to add a little bit of brown too. And now we're going to add a little bit of that red, the deep red here. But again, the deep red is something that will take over the whole palette for your flesh if you don't be careful. So add it very, very carefully. And I think I need a little more yellow. And then what you do when you think you're pretty close, what you do is you just start, and then again, like I said, we're going to be building about 5 layers of this onto her skin. And sort of blend that in. And you see how it's already creating that layering effect. Looks like there's life underneath this skin, which there is on a painting when you give it that life. So we just continue to blend. Now, for the sake of time, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my black and I'm going to sort of designate where my nose is and just make sure that I keep that separate. And keep that shape of that nose that I like. Just a little bit of a point on her nose, but I'm turning her sideways a little more. So we're going to add that in. This is a little bit bigger than I want it to be. Again, we're not doing an exact portrait, but, whoops, wrong brush. because we are doing something that is just a suggestion of the person, but still the person. Now, I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to put it on fast forward, and you can watch this process be unveiled. And I'm going to do the rest of the faces. Sometimes you have to let something sit. All right.